Oh man. Uh well, nice to meet you.
Yeah, same here.
um
I've already seen you, so I'm not that.
you already know what
Not.
I look. I've
Yeah,
seen
yeah.
you as well. I watched you on a
When Vermillion got
oh, it was
launched.
I know it. It was House of Nerd.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, so
That's it.
I was really just gonna have you run down your career and then sure like career like as an artist. Is art all you do?
Yeah, right now it is. Uh, well, should I go? Let me see how far back I can go. I'm not. Well, if because like I've I'm old already, I know, like I'm in my 40s and I'm just starting my career in comic books. So if I go too much back, then maybe it's too much information. But I did, I lived in the US for college. I did, I have a degree in animation and motion design, and I worked here in Brazil for for animation companies for like the first half of my career of my adult life.
Okay.
So I did mostly After Effects. And just a second, man. My
You're good.
daughter is here.
Oh
And
no, no
she's doing
worries.
little
I've got two
noises.
daughters and cats and
Sai.
they're always
Barulho. Tô fazendo barulho. Você tá fazendo barulho. Sai. Vai pra lá, fecha a porta aí pra mim, por favor. Não me atrapalha. Obrigado. Sorry, man.
It's a nice studio, by the way.
Oh, thanks. Thank you. Yeah, it's all comic books.
You're
So yeah.
crushing my collection. Mine's maybe half that.
Oh, really? Well, I got like most here, actually like 99% is like all everything published here in Brazil. I have just a little section of imports that I got from the US and some of my stuff down here. And I got some old stuff like from when I was a kid, when like I had comic books here were released in a little format that we used to call it. So you got what's like 6 by 10, the
Uh,
regular size of American
that
comics.
sounds right. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, around that. And imagine that it's half of that. That's
So
how
it's
it
the
got
same like
published.
it's like still the same where it's not like a manga, but it's just smaller, like a comic that's
Yeah,
small.
it's smaller. Yeah,
Huh.
yeah. So it got like this reduced size. I think I don't know if it's in the US or in Italy. They're trying to release like old comics in that format as well to make it cheaper and to get more like newer readers.
That makes sense because some of
Yeah,
the American publishers are trying to do the same thing, where they're
yeah. So
considering publishing them in a smaller
and
size.
yeah, and a different paper, so it's like more accessible, right?
Yeah.
And which I think is great, man. Like I think we need new readers, right? And so yeah, like I got some Marvel stuff, some manga. I got all the Sandmans and Sin City and some Europeans that I love. So like Incal from Mobius. Got old stuff. Like over here, they're re-releasing like some old stuff, which I love. Have you ever read? I don't know what's the name in English, but it's the Meta Barons saga. Have you ever
I
heard of
don't think
that?
so.
Oh
Maybe if
man,
I saw it,
it's
I would
yeah, it's a
recognize it.
crazy
But
book, man. Oh, let me
the
grab
Meta
it just a
Barons.
sec. Yeah, so it got. Oh, sorry. it got released here again. Like this is a book from the 80s, like from the artist is this Spanish guy called Juan Jimenez, and he
Okay.
died during COVID. But he's amazing, man.
Dang. I see it
Like the
as influence like on your own.
oh, for sure.
The
No,
like
this
that
is
that titling looks of
oh
similar
yeah.
style. Oh man,
Uh,
that looks amazing.
looks yeah, it's amazing. And this is like the comic book that, made me look into other stuff than other than like the American comics, like the superhero comics, because it was so different and it's like really violent and it got sex innuendo all over and the art's just something else, The guy was a monster.
That's
It was
what's
great.
funny is I
Yeah,
find like some of the best art is some of the most graphic, outrageous,
yeah,
outlandish, super detailed gore, erotic.
yeah,
And that's uh, partially why I really wanted to talk to you so much is after seeing I didn't know you were an interior artist. I didn't really know that you did this much interior art on your own whenever we had you
oh,
do a cover for Liquid Kill. And I like my understanding it was like you were a fine artist or like you did watercolors
really?
and you just
Yeah,
happened they happened to be you also like translated them into the comic medium and and then whenever I saw you were doing Megalomaniac, then I was like, "What?
yeah,
I didn't know
yeah.
that it was." So I guess we'll go backwards in your career, so we
All
don't have
right.
to like start at the beginning to move up.
No,
It's
no,
kind of like
like I'll brush through the beginning. So I was like I worked in animation, doing motion design. I eventually went to directing commercials, and I did that for the first half of my career. So for like 15 years, I did that like constantly, So from like 2003 to actually less than 15, about 2012, I was mainly doing that. And then around 2012, or actually maybe a little bit before, can't remember now the dates, but I got back to drawing because I just, I kind of let it go during college, then doing work with other stuff. I would draw here and there, but nothing consistent and nothing like worth of, sharing with anybody. And I, well, I got back into it and was like, man, this is tough, because and I used to say that it's not like riding a bike where you just hop on it. It's like you remember how to do it, you just don't. And it was so frustrating, getting back to it and not knowing how. And so it was a struggle, man. I kind of struggled for like 2 years, trying to get it back. And then once I got the rhythm and I was drawing again, things started to not happen, but like inside, I was like, okay, so I'm going somewhere with this. Let's see. And I just kept taking it to like I wanted to take it to a semi-professional place, So I tried to do some illustration work here, and then I took classes again, you know, and like it's funny because like you met my work, like me being like a painter or a fine artist, work doing colored stuff, and I used to hate working with color. It's like watercolors was like my biggest fear. I hated it like from before, but I thought, let me just face my biggest fears and see where it takes me. So I took on watercolors and started painting. And that just made the biggest difference in my work, in my art, because that just helped me, like it made me understand what I was doing in a different level, you know. It's kind of weird. But then I started teaching, like the place where I took the classes, they asked me to teach classes there, and which I did until this year. So that was from 2012 to 2024. I just dropped it because like I've been getting a lot of work,
Yeah, too much
which is
work to do
great.
both. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, and that was the dream, because I always wanted to be a comic book artist, like when I was a kid. I like, man, I lived and dreamed about, the X-Men. That was my favorite book, when I was a kid. And that's still my dream, Hopefully someday I'll do something with them, but that's a goal for sure. And but that's what I wanted to do, but
You'll get
life took
there.
me in a different. Yeah.
With as talented as you are, I
Hopefully,
don't see
hopefully.
anybody
No,
saying no to
man.
you.
No, man, that's tough, man. Like the competition is great, like
That's
there's
true
so
too.
many great artists. That's like, sometimes when I get work, and then I read the script and I'm like, man, this would look so much better if it was done by so and so, just put any name, because I'm such a fan first, and it's weird, like, okay, that's why maybe I like doing my own stuff more, like the ones I gave you, because nobody else is gonna do those, you know.
No,
That's
yeah.
like the stuff I want to do. So let me see. So yeah, so then I started teaching, and I was still working with animation. I was a freelance for a few years, so I was still like juggling between the two. I was doing, my animation work, and just trying to get any kind of illustration work here and there. So I did like kids' books, and I did like newspaper stuff, and like puzzle illustrations for kids as well, just like little uh
Had you
even
taken on your
political.
Brao name yet, or were you still going by a different
Yeah, I
artist?
was already signing as Brao. I was already signing like that. Because it's funny, my name is Abraham, and my name is like it's unpronounceable in Brazil,
Abraham?
you know? Yes. It's not a common name. It
Okay.
has a different pronunciation here. Or actually, there's a translation to the name, which is Abraão. So people, when I worked in the production company, they they couldn't say Abraham, so they went with Abraão, and then they cut the A, and they just called me Brão, which is the tail end of Abraham in Portuguese. So
Whoa.
that's what the name is.
Well,
Yeah, so
that's
it's a nickname. It was a nickname, but I never signed anything like that before. And then when I started drawing and getting work, I was like, let me, sign like this, because if I say Abraham, people are not gonna get it here. So it's just like Brown.
it's so unique and powerful. And you have your own stamp. That's baller.
Yeah.
Whenever I got that and saw it was stamped with that, I was like, dang.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have yet
Cool,
to see
man.
that unless like it makes it feel so luxurious.
Yeah.
Just to cut to like what did you, like do you just publish under that name? Is your
Yeah.
self-published as Brow and like who
Yeah.
did you get to do all this the printing and the hardcover?
Oh, I hired a printer here, and where like that's the way I've always done. Like uh, when I so when I was like getting those works, and I was just practicing all at the same time, and I was just drawing girls all the time. It was like something that I knew that I had to, get better at. It was just a challenge to, you know, draw good-looking girls. And all of a sudden, I had like a few sketchbooks packed with girls. So I released my first publication, which was actually 10 years ago now, was a book called Bad Women. So it was just my sketchbooks, just art from my sketchbooks. And I self-published that. I did something similar to a Kickstarter here. crowdfunding campaign, and I released that. And after that, I just released one book after the other. So when I released Bad Women, I was like, okay, I know how the circuit works. Like I know uh, how um, I advertise the campaign, how I publish, where do I find the printers, the types of paper I need to know. So I got to know everything there is about, publishing a book,
Yeah.
or actually, most everything, at least enough. I was like, okay, so now let me do a comic book, you know. And I did a few comic books before, like the short stories for other publishers here and there. And there was one that I did that was, yeah, I got a little ahead of myself. I did a few short stories. I did one, a short story of my own, like I wrote it. It was about this detective, and it's like 6 pages, and got published in a little collection. Didn't have a big reach here, but it was something, It's like, okay, so I just published my comic book. Then I did the art book on my own, and then like the year after that, I was like, let me do my comic. And I was into drawing the girls. People were liking the girls I was drawing, you know, like Instagram in a way kind of helped me, get my work further too, because I was getting feedback,
Yeah.
and it was good. Like back in the day, and that's like I'm talking 10 years ago. Like the algorithm was different, you had the engagement was different, and you would get more feedback on your stuff. You'd see better what was being like more like appraised or something.
Yeah. I was late to
So
Instagram, but that's what I heard. It used to be a huge deal for
yeah,
artists. Like
yeah,
Gabriel, who did the interior art for Liquid Kill, he had
yeah,
like he had social media like 15 years ago, and it was way different.
yeah,
And he tells
yeah.
talks about how it's
It was
just
so
changed. He
good.
just yeah.
Yeah, not that I think that now it sucks, but it's more difficult for an artist now to
Yeah.
get the engagement because it's so much focused on other stuff, right? But before, everything it was like an even playing field for everybody. Everybody publishing pictures, it's like it's the same, everybody gets the same amount of engagement. And people were like looking for their interests. Now they're just like looking for whatever is, I don't know,
Trending
trendy
or
or
whatever.
catchy. Yeah.
It's all reels and
So, yeah, yeah. I just like, people getting hurt,
yeah, exactly.
honestly.
I was late to it. I didn't
Just,
even know
yeah.
Instagram or Twitter or any of this stuff until like 3 or 4 years ago.
Really.
Yeah, and by that time,
Wow.
everybody just hated social media.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure,
Anyway,
for sure.
back to so yeah,
That's
you
for
had done a few
sure.
shorts, did you? And then you did your own book,
Yeah, then I
and
did my book. Then I was like, let me do my own comic book. And that's when Cornucopia came about, which is like a predecessor for
yeah,
Megalomania. It's almost in the same vein. I can send you a PDF later. I didn't send you the book because it's gonna get too heavy,
no,
you
yeah.
know.
Thank you for sending me these. By the way, I was so
No,
excited.
man,
I
my
was like,
pleasure, man. No, my
ah,
pleasure. No, you're so nice to me, with Liquid Kill too. So I was like, no, I'm in debt. So, so yeah, then I did Cornucopia, and like I didn't know what to do. I was just like looking at the landscape here in Brazil. There were a lot of artists, releasing stuff here independently also, and I was like, I was buying stuff and backing projects and reading what everybody was releasing here. And I was like, man, there's not one erotic comic book. And was a big fan, as a kid, because I would read Milo Manara and Serpieri's Druna, excuse me, and Guido Crepax, like all those Europeans artists that did erotic comics, like when I got to know Jimenez, I got to know all of those too. So I was like, man, nobody's doing that here. And it wasn't like a marketing decision where I wanted to do something that nobody was doing. It was more like, man, I'm missing this. Let me do it, I'll try it and see if I can do it. And it turned out all right. It was my first book to sell out, like the whole, how do you say it, like the whole print
Hmm.
run,
You,
whatever.
yeah, you sold out.
Yeah, yeah, like in a few years, but like I was seeing that none of my friends were actually selling out like that, because here in Brazil it's a different market. It's not an industry like in the US or in Europe, but there's a market. But it's mainly uh, like most of the things that are published here that are from here are from independent artists. There's little uh, publishing houses doing a variety of things. There are some, but not a lot.
Yeah, there's
So
no
I would
like
say that
Marvel and
there's
DC of
more.
Brazil.
No, no, no. They're like not for comic books at least.
It's just all
So
independent publishers or like
mostly,
publishers that publish
mostly, I would
graphic
say
novels
that
or something.
most, yeah, yeah, I would say most of the stuff that you see here are from independent artists. So after that, I just kept doing. So I was like doing an art book one year, a comic book another, an art book one year. So I did Bad Women, Cornucopia. Then I did Bad Women Volume 2. Then I did Diva Satanica, which is a painted one. So this is more like, like in Megalomania, it's not the typical, comic um, narrative that you follow, right? It's not
Hmm.
like a lot of panels. It's a different type of storytelling. So, and Cornucopia is the same. And I got that from Mobius as well. He has this book which is great. It's called The Eyes of the Cat. Have you ever seen that?
No, I know Mobius, but no, I haven't
Man,
like I'm not in depth
man.
on his work.
Oh, you gotta get that one.
I
It's
will.
amazing. It's such a good book. It's amazing. And it's like a quick read, and it's just like so. Anyways, sorry, man. I geek out about the comic books. And so I just kept going, So Diva Satani was more of a traditional comic book format. Then I did Vermillion, which got released in the US in 22. So I did that in, was it 2018? Yeah, I did Vermillion here, and then I self-published and I did my thing. And so a few years later, I was just like looking at different publishing houses, and I got a hold of from the folks at Behemoth, which now is
Oh, I was gonna say, I was
Sumerian.
like, I know that title.
Yeah,
I didn't realize you were
yeah,
associated with that. That's you.
yeah. So they got the rights and they published, and it got sold out there as well, which was amazing. That's why like the guys from the House of Nerds they wanted to chat with me. It was
Was
because of
because of Vermillion.
Vermilion.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't have any of those here left with me. I don't know if you can find them, if you've ever seen them. I think you can find it in comic shops still, but it was sold out at the distributing level, as I was told. So that
Did they
was
do any
awesome.
more print runs at all? Or they just
No,
sold
no,
out and they're like, that's
just a
that.
one. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
Because
what
it's a
sucks
one
is like
shot. So
you can sell
yeah,
out, but even if you sell out, if you don't get enough like continued demand to enough to satisfy another print run, they'll just
yeah.
stop because they usually
It was
overprint a
like
little
that.
bit to withstand. But yeah, but that's
Yeah. They
awesome.
even Yeah, it was awesome. They even asked me if I wanted to do like maybe retell that story, but in more issues. And I don't know. I told them that if I get like the right idea to do it, maybe. But I'm thinking about doing a sequel. It would be cool. I don't know, there's just so much going on. Well, not so much, but at least enough to, make me pause and
Well,
like
with what you're
really think
doing,
about the next project. Yeah,
I mean, like this is something I've wondered, like how much can you take on and not just be overwhelmed? Because I can't imagine, like it probably takes you a good amount of time just to do one issue or one shot. And if you're getting work from other
yeah,
people to do a cover here, a cover
yeah. It
there, a short
was,
story here, a graphic novel here, there's only so much you can do in a year.
yeah. So, like, let me tell you about Megalomaniac. That one I released last year, at the end of last year. It was a crowd too, and I had that script done, I think, during the pandemic. That's when I wrote it. And stuff happened during that. I got into a project which turned out to be a scam, which is what Lemonade is that I sent you as well. That's why I wanted you to see that one because it was about the whole scam that I was like a victim of, and
It
so
that's not
that got in my way.
is Le Monet the
Yeah.
translation for the scam?
The what, you mean the title or the
Yeah,
book?
oh, because I noticed like that right after that it just says like the scam, and I wasn't sure if that was the
Yeah.
English version of the title or if it was just
No,
like a
no,
chapter
no.
name.
No, Lemonade is just a stupid name because it's like the lemonade I made from the lemons I got from life.
Okay,
It's
okay.
stupid like that. It's just stupid like that.
I'm just so bad at
But
uh language translations that I didn't even realize
oh
that
man, it's
that
fine.
meant lemonade.
Yeah. It's, it's a super name, but I didn't know what else to do with the material. So that story was that I got in, I did this work. The guy never paid me, and there was like a whole bunch of other artists involved in it. And I started talking to them. I was like asking them if they got paid. Nobody got paid, and then the guy disappeared. And then I tracked the publishing houses that he said were gonna publish the book, and then they replied me saying that there was no such book in works. That like, I'm sorry, but you've been scammed. And I gave them like all the emails and everything, and I took the material I produced for that book. I reordered the pages. I rewrote to make it fit as if it is about the scam,
Huh.
you know?
Oh
Yeah.
man, now I can't wait to
So
read through it. I don't understand. Like, what was the guy expecting to do with your work?
that's the biggest mystery, man. And he was doing, like, I was doing volume one. He had written like 8 volumes. And the one I did was short. It had only like 40 pages. But the second one and the ones after, they all had over 100 pages. And there was another artist that was drawing the second one. He was like on page 80.
Ugh.
Yeah, man. I was doing volume three. I was just doing layouts, but I was already on to the guy by the time I was doing those layouts. I was like, I'm gonna just do whatever here just to so he won't disappear, you know. But then, like, I don't know, man. There's so many illustrations done for that one.
Now, I mean,
It
I don't even start a
was crazy.
conversation with an artist unless I like know I can pay them up front, or at least
Yeah,
like half up front, half at the end. Like it's insane to expect someone to work for that long and then not get
yeah,
paid. But anyway, to continue
yeah.
that
But you're
story.
like, yeah, you're like just working, trying to get work. So, you know, I already had some experience of dealing with people that don't pay me from my previous career, and you know how to deal with them, and you kind of get a nose, to know when you're being tricked. But man, he was good. He was really good, and he duped like over 50 people at least, around 80 total, because we found out that there was another scam that he did with different artists that are doing stuff for Marvel, you know. like if you want, I can send you some stuff if you're curious about it. You know, we can
I
like
am. I don't want to
just
take
to let
time
you
away
know
from you, but
what
I am
whatever. Yeah,
curious.
yeah. Just to let you know whatever happened there, because you can find like tweets and other stuff involving magazines, like fashion magazines. It was like really, really something. But anyways, so uh, so I had like this because of that. That's why I got into it because I I published those books. I wrote Megalomania, but then I got that job. That wasn't a job, right? So that took me out like for a while because I couldn't, like I was in the negative in my bank account, because of that, you know. So I had to, recuperate and, got a loan. My mom lent me some money, you get help. And but work-wise, it was like a big hit because like you lose some confidence in yourself. You don't know how to deal with everything. But I just kept trying, and fortunately, things started to happen. I did, and I'm actually doing the last book for this series called One Eye Jack, and this like this was on Kickstarter for every year for the past 4 years, and I'm doing the last volume, which is the fourth one. So that helped me a lot. That helped me, get out of the hole a bit. And like the writer is a friend of mine from here, so he he jumped in to help me out, which is awesome. And that helped me a lot to get some more stuff. And I don't know, like, and for some reason, I started getting cover work. I did some covers for how do you say it? It's for the comic shops. There's a retailer comic covers,
Oh,
right?
like
That's how you call it.
retailer exclusive covers.
Yes, yes, thank you. So I started doing those, and that got some attention. And then I got yours to do as well, directly from Massive and whatnot, which was awesome. And that opened a lot of doors too, because those turn out great. Love those covers, and it's rare for me to like anything I do. So
I
really
love those
proud of
covers. Yeah,
those.
I mean,
Yeah, really proud. So, so yeah, so like for 2 or 3 years now, I did the last animation job, and I'm just living out of comic books for like, you
that's
know,
awesome.
30 years after, wanting to work with comics. I finally, I got to transition from one type of work to another. It was a slow transition, it took me over 10 years from, starting doing illustration work and comic books and to stopping doing animation, you know, which is awesome. And like now I just released Megalomania was the last one, and that one I'm really proud of because that was like after all that story, doing Lemonade and the scam, and I was like, man, I gotta really do a new thing, I gotta do my own work. And then I thought of, doing a continuation from a sequel from Cornucopia. And it's not really a sequel. You can read it as a sequel, but it's not.
It's in the same
Um,
universe, but not the
it's
same
in the same
like story or
universe.
anything.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Gotcha.
So in Cornucopia, you're just locked in one room, and it is one of the rooms that are in Megalomania. So if you get a chance to read Cornucopia, you're gonna see, oh, that's the room in that. And in Megalomania, I wanted to do like a walkthrough, let's go around and do different things and see different things. So that was like a big comeback for me, something that I really wanted to, spend the time and really nail it.
It looks
which is in the
amazing.
title, you
Like
know.
I haven't
Yeah,
dived into it. Sometimes when things are like are this nice, I'm like afraid to open it up, but I'll open it up and read through
I
it.
know. I know
And
the feeling. Yeah.
but that brings like do you do any other form of artwork that you sell? Like do you create prints or do watercolors that you sell at conventions or anything like that? Or are you just strictly comics?
Uh, I not commercially. Like I like to paint, you know, just like landscapes and portraits, just like as a practice. I really love it, and but no, man, outside of the comic book world, I I didn't have much success doing that, you know. It's like maybe because I tried, and it's a different like uh how do you say, a different line of work, you know, like the people you gotta talk to. And I kind of tried it, you know. I tried to put some paintings in galleries here, and I did
Oh, I
for a
get it.
while,
Well, I was thinking
you know.
like if you even if you didn't go that route, like if I whenever I go to conventions or like the Comic Cons and horror
Yeah.
conventions in the United States, and you most of what's like artist alley is not comic artists. It's artists that
Oh,
are painters and illustrators that just create prints and like t-shirts and
yeah.
buttons and things like that. And they just kill it
Oh,
in that
it's
way. And they don't even do
yeah.
comics because they act like they don't make any money at it.
Oh,
But
but like they do the prints and other stuff based on comics or
no,
other things as
just
well.
stuff. It'd be like as
The
if you
stuff.
just did like your Bad Women. You just had
Yeah.
400 prints of all those
Yeah.
women and you just had those and people could if people be like, I like that girl, I want that on my wall.
Yeah.
I'd buy that from
Yeah.
you. I'm just saying that might be another
Yeah.
avenue you'd want to go down because yeah, and no one what the people who do really well in that sense have a very unique style.
Yeah. I
And
get you.
there's some stuff that where it's like you can see like people are trying to do what's trendy and there's certain kind of almost like pop art that's very trendy now that people will
Yeah.
do, but the person that's just like crushing it is always someone like you that has like a very unique style that's
I
like
see.
the stuff I tend to go towards it's like perfect for, you know, it's darker, it's more extreme. And then
Yeah.
those artists do really well at places outside of just comic focus. If it's like I was saying, like if
Okay.
it's a horror convention or anime or something like that, maybe not anime,
Hmm.
but
I see.
anyway.
Like here we have a Comic Con at the end of the year, and which is a really big one. But and you know, I've been in every single time that they had it, and I do commissions, I sell prints, but what maybe is different here is that maybe, and I don't know this, I'm just like speculating. There's such a need for the Brazilian audience for uh, like the comic stuff. They like I think here we really like the superhero, you know, from the US, and like all the nerd culture behind, you know, gaming and comic books. Everybody here's like because none of that lives here. You know, none of that is from here. You know, so most of the artists here, when they do like fan art, is from that world, you know, and the audience that goes into the Comic Con, they're really like starving for that, you know, because it's not available like in shopping malls, or there's not a ton of comic book stores. There's not like this embracing of, you know, geek culture in a way outside of the Comic Con, you know, so they really love, you know, that all the artists are doing just fan art, you know,
It's the same in the
from,
States. But
yeah.
that makes sense.
So,
It's
but
even more
like
stronger
whenever,
there.
yeah, yeah, I would say, because if I do like my characters, you know, people are not gonna care because it's not trending in any way, you know.
Yeah, no, yeah. Well, yeah, we all.
Because I try, I always bring some print that's like my stuff, at least one, and it never sells.
No, yeah, they want
They
you to
like
draw your
buying the
version of
books.
Batman or something.
Yeah, yeah. Because there's like in the Comic Con here, and I bet it's maybe the same there. There's two types of audience. There's like the ones that are they're really into comic books. They like reading. They like the artwork. And then there's like this other audience that just really loves hanging stuff on their walls. They
Yeah,
just love buying the prints and they don't care about the books. So I do my books for one audience and I do the prints for the other audience.
yeah,
And
yeah.
sometimes they cross over, but not always.
No, that makes total
Mhm.
sense. And I mean, it's similar here.
Yeah.
I think where it differs a little bit is because we have a lot of different conventions. Almost every city has its Comic Con, which is focused, like
Yeah.
you said, to people that are there. They want to dress up like Thor, they want to do
Yes.
cosplay, and they want to buy Funko Pops, and they want to buy
Yeah.
Pokemon
Yeah.
cards and stuff like that. And then
Exactly.
off in the corner, there'll be like, of the thousands of people that are there, 40 of them care about your indie
Yes.
comics or something like that.
Yes.
But there are separate conventions that are like just there for horror, or just conventions that
Yeah.
are just for anime, or conventions that are just uh, artwork. And those
Okay.
are the ones where it's like everybody there is just there for whatever
Their
niche that
stuff.
you're in. So if you go
Oh,
to
okay,
a
cool.
horror con and
Yeah.
you're in a whole line of people that just do art for horror, and then they see that
Yeah.
you also have books in addition to your art, and you do a bundle or something, and
Yeah.
it's a bit different. There's people that like
I see
have it all
now.
down to a science, and they'll do whole tours where they're like, I do from this loop of the Midwest, and then I do three on the East Coast and one on the West, or
Yeah.
whatever they do.
Yeah, I
And
see people like sharing their itinerary, and I don't know how they have the time to do the books, do the prints, do the commissions, and still go to all those conventions, man.
I, it's a full time, like I couldn't do it, but there are some people
Yeah.
that that's like that's what their life is. It's like they're a band
Yeah.
that goes on tour, and
Yes.
they set up their
Yes.
tour dates, and then they write at a certain time, and then they have somebody else, like if they're
Yes.
really pro, somebody else manages all their dates that they go to places,
Yes.
and they can set it up to where they manage their art. They actually have like some people are so pro that
Yeah.
people will like set up for them, and they just show up, and then they just sign, and then they move on to the
Yeah.
next. Other
Yeah.
people,
And that's a great analogy
or
to
you'll just
music.
stay
Yeah.
local, and you on a weekend you drive 3 hours and you go to this convention there or there. But that's the benefit, I guess, of the US is, like I said, where I'm at in the Midwest, there's a horror convention 3 hours west, and two Comic Cons that happen in St. Louis
Yeah.
like I can choose to where I can always just drive to one on a
Yeah.
certain weekend,
We
and
don't have that here.
you can like pair up with another person so that
Yeah.
you share in the cost of the table and things like that. I don't do it that much, but I always
Hmm.
talk to other people there because I've learned through the years that that's like one of the main ways that people consistently like grow their audience and sell their artwork, is through touring at conventions,
Yeah.
because I always try to just do it all through direct book sales and then like online. And but I didn't realize how much of another separate avenues there are. And that's where I was saying I met a lot of artists that were just crushing it, just selling art at conventions. Like yeah, making just, I don't know, buku bucks, like way
Hmm.
more than I had ever thought you could make with artwork. But they're also really talented, and they work all
Yeah.
the time. That's why I was curious, like
Yeah, that's
the
amazing.
question was like, how many books do you think you could do in a year if you just if all you did was work on graphic novels? Like what's like what's like the limit to where you feel overwhelmed? To where if someone like comes at, if you already have one book that you're doing with somebody, and then someone
Yeah.
else like asks you, would you tell them like, oh, I couldn't start on it for 6 months, or like how many pages do you typically do a day, I guess?
Yeah. So I like to like divide my day into two sections, you know. So before lunch, I work on my stuff, and after lunch, I do pay paying jobs mostly. Right now, I'm not doing my stuff, my own. I'm still deciding what I'm gonna do. So I'm just finishing one book that's gonna be on Kickstarter like real soon, and I'm starting I just started the last volume of that book called When I Checked that I told you. So like for like since I'm doing those two books like kind of simultaneously, I'm doing uh, before lunch one of them and after lunch the other. And that's kind of how I jam my own work into, you know, my the paying jobs, right? Because if you just go with the flow, which a lot of people do, is it just gets so chaotic that you don't know what you're doing and you don't see any progress. And I've tried, you know, different ways. And sometimes, you know, when I was doing Megalomania, like there were some pages that took like 5 days to finish because I only got like 3 hours in the morning to work on those. You know, because I
Okay.
gotta take the kid to school and gotta do all the other stuff that, you know, I try to put it in the morning because the paying job is actually more important, you know, like right now. You know, my stuff is more important for like the future, but for right now, I gotta do the paying stuff.
Yeah.
So it's a different, you know, it's a different juggle to do, and so sometimes, you know, some pages take longer, and there was one point doing Megalomania that was I was really behind. I was like, man, I gotta, you know, just do like some pages now, and I took a break from the paying work. I was like, okay, like, I'm gonna, you know, dedicate 2 weeks just to get like a whole bunch of pages done, you know, so I can, you know, meet my own deadline, which I almost missed, but everything worked out. And so like, and during a year, it's really hard, you know, I'm still learning how to, you know, like uh, get one work after the other, you know. Whenever I get cover work, I can just, you know, like fit it in. It's no problem, you know. I try to get enough time for that cover, you know, so I can, you know, do proper sketching and like at the end of the day, I'll dedicate like an hour to get some ideas and I'll do that for an hour. Then the next day I'll do another hour and I'll just, you know, get some ideas going. Sometimes, you know, I already got requests, you know, can you do a cover for like deliver me in 4 or 5 days? I'm like, okay, sure, I'll do it. I'll manage my schedule to fit it in. You know, I can delay one thing, you know, just move the pieces around. But like getting one book after the other, it's tough. I'm still learning, you know. So like this book that I'm finishing, it was supposed to be done like in November, but it kept getting delayed. We had to take breaks from it, and I took longer than I expected. The writer was fine with it because he was liking the results, and I was really open with him. You know, I told him I'm doing another book also, so if I do you mind if I take some breaks here and there? So like it just took longer than I expected and wanted. So it's really hard, man. If you got any tips, if
No,
you heard anything.
I
Yeah,
I always try to, every artist I've worked with, I've always left it open ended and not tried. we always try to keep a deadline that's like, let's
Yeah.
do 9 months or so, but um, things come up, like you
For how
said,
many
kids get
pages?
sick,
Yeah.
and the worst is if you then all of a sudden everybody's rushed and you're like, oh, now we need to
Yeah.
do it all, and then you will look at it and be like, I actually want to redo, 6 of these pages,
Yeah.
and we can't do it because it's already like had some kind of deadline. So yeah, I always like, it's just like, let's just take as long as we need to get it how we want it to make it perfect
Yeah.
in our eyes.
You said 9 months for how many pages?
Um, that would be like for like close to 100.
Okay. Yeah, so that's okay, so 9 months.
I think
Yeah,
it's like
that's a lot.
it's a lot.
No, that's plenty of
It
time.
it
No, that's
never
plenty of
happens.
time, of course. But and 100 pages is a lot too. So like I used to have uh this goal to do a page a day. And I got that goal from doing One Eye Jack, which was in watercolors. And I'm really quick with watercolors. And that book had this unique style that was really fast to work on, but that gave me the wrong expectation of how much I take to draw other stuff, you know? So when I got this other book, The Grid Wars, that one I thought I could do one page a day, and I couldn't. So it took
Yeah.
way longer, you know? So maybe one step for one step of a page per day should be a good goal, but it should add more to that. So I could do the pencils in one day and then the inks in the other and then the color in the other. That would be like the best. So 3 days for a page, for a whole page, a complete page,
Yeah, I think
right? That would be,
it's always averaged out to where it was like 3 pages a week. So that would
yeah,
be, yeah, like to where it's not too overwhelming, but it's not too slow to where
yeah.
that's.
And you don't want to rush the page in, because I've gotten to like some moments where I was like, no, man, I'm just rushing it just to finish, and this is starting to look like crap. And then I was like, no, man, let's take the time and make this really beautiful, make it
Yeah.
worthwhile. Otherwise, it's not worth it.
But we have that
Right?
luxury. Those that are
Yeah,
on a deadline who do a license, like someone that gets licensed to do Godzilla,
yeah,
they have a deadline and it's fast.
yeah, yeah. I got some friends. Like I have a friend here that just finished doing some stuff for Marvel, and it's not just like he can do a page a day, but like he takes a lot of time to finish a page. So he was like, having like 16 working hours in a day, like to finish a page.
Yeah.
And he was really into it. He really delivered. But one thing that I wasn't expecting that he told me was the amount of adjustment that he had to make, like and changing characters mid-book. And so he had to erase the character in all pages and redo the
Ah,
character, you know. and and it was like, man, that's crazy, because that takes a while, you gotta if
that's
you even
insane to
if you
have to
plan doing
erase
5 pages
characters.
in a week. Yeah,
Ah,
yeah, for sure. I was like, man, I think we should have that character here instead of that one. And he was doing this, I don't know if I should say it, but let's say that it was a big character and a small character, and they wanted to erase the big character from the page and put it in place of the other one and put another one in the place of the big one, something like that. And it's like, man, like there are panels here that I have to rearrange everything because I can't, like, because there's a size difference,
yeah.
and
Oh,
it's
that's
not that
terrible.
easy. But
Yeah.
yeah, that was the thing that he complained most about, that he had to like do during the weekends.
Yeah, I had Sean Chen who used to work for Marvel DC for years, but
Yeah,
like over a decade ago. And he talked about how hard it was to stick to the deadlines. And like your friend, he had to work just like 16 hours to get
yeah,
everything done. And he eventually just switched careers. It was so
really.
much work that, and as much as he liked it was just that story. I think he became an animator or a storyboard
That's
artist,
it.
and it was
I
just like
know.
that's what was
Yeah,
paying more. That's then he had to pay the bills at that time. But now he's further along in his career, and now he's getting back into comics, and he's doing independent,
no,
self-published stuff, or not exactly self-published, but creator-owned.
yeah, that's cool. Yeah,
But dang,
man.
we're about at an
It's
hour.
tough.
What did you
Oh man.
want to go over and like I guess definitely let me know when your next Kickstarter campaign goes live and I'll hype it up.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I hope we're getting the last details of the Kickstarter. Just they're almost done. I'm coloring the book. The book is finished. It's really cool. It's a cool story. It's a Hollywood writer, and he had this idea, and he got a hold of me, and we've been working together since for about a year now, almost a year now. And it's a cool book. It has nothing to do with my previous work. It has none of the erotic, um, but it has a lot of violence and in a fun way, in a fun. Uh, and it was like a challenge for me to do this book. So really proud of it. I think it's going to be cool, and hopefully it will, do good in the Kickstarter. And I'll definitely let you know for sure. Any help will be great.
Yeah, for sure. And
Yeah.
man, I know people hit me up for artists all the time. So if you're ever
Yeah.
looking for work, I
Cool.
know I have writers.
Man, oh please, man.
If not me
Always, always.
myself, like
Yeah.
I'll talk with my writing partner and we got some stuff for you.
Oh, cool, man.
Cuz
I'll
I mean
I'll
you're
I'll be
obviously
here.
right down our alley. Everything we write is
Cool.
like way
Yeah, man.
too like the book we are working on now is um it's just straight violence. It's not
Yeah.
quite erotic, but it's very has a lot of sexual themes, I guess you could say.
Yeah, cool.
And um and yeah, everything is like right down it's that kind of alley, just like sort of
Yeah. Oh
the
man,
darker end
would
of the
love
spectrum.
would love to work with you on a long project like that. Would be great.
Yeah,
And
I'll definitely be hitting you up. But
yeah, cool.
what's your main
Yeah,
website that
and
we should send people to? Your Instagram page
well,
or do you have a
yeah,
website?
maybe my Instagram. I have a website which is brown.art.pr for Brazil, or my Instagram which is brown_art, and you can find me there and find my work there. And I'm always trying to post, different stuff I'm doing, and that's the channel I publish whatever I'm working on next, and letting people know of my crowdfunding campaigns and everything.
That's a last question.
Yeah.
How much of your Instagram following actually translates to Kickstarter buyers? Like, can you
Um,
tell? Can you see like how many came from Instagram? Because like you have quite a following, and I'm just wondering, like, does that like do a lot of them come there, or do they just view and ignore?
no, no. Yeah, I think that, most people who consume art from Instagram are happy just consuming art on Instagram,
Yeah,
you know? So I would say that most of my audience that goes into the crowdfunding, there are those are crowdfunding people,
yeah,
like they like crowdfunding, and they find the stuff that they like, There, of course, there are some that came from Instagram for sure. There is like a captive audience there, but it's not big. And like if you get maybe the portion that backs the book, let's say I got 500 backers in my last book. I would say at least half of that came from Instagram, or
Okay.
maybe two-thirds. Okay, let's say. But like two-thirds out of 500, it's nothing to the 20K plus followers I have on Instagram,
Yeah, it's
right?
less than 0.5% or
It's
something like that. Yeah.
yes. So like it doesn't really translate into, big numbers, but the ones that follow you, the like to help people with their crowdfunding, they gotta know through there too. So that's still the place.
Yeah, some people Kickstarter is their social media. Like instead of getting on,
Yeah,
just checking Instagram, they just scroll through
I bet.
Kickstarter.
I bet. And that's great. I wish everything was like
Yeah, I
that.
know. It's like
Yeah.
we should
Yeah.
worship those people and promote it.
Yeah.
Well, thanks a lot, Brow.
Yeah. No,
I'll
man.
definitely
Thank
keep
you.
in
It was a
touch, and yeah, let
pleasure.
me know when things go live, and
Yeah,
I
sure.
might have you on again, and we'll go further into
Cool.
more artistic talk and funny stories and stuff like that.
Yeah, man. That was this was a treat. Thanks so much.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks a lot, man.
All right, man. Have a good one.